Our friend Jeff is going to have the hard job. Mine is going to be the easy job here. Because I'm only going to have to account for a very few Union troops. I'm going to account for up on Little Round Top, which is obvious where the monuments are, is Lemuel Norton and 20 Signal Corps people. On House Ridge being that ridge we can see, if you turn your, where you can see that road that's going up House Ridge, see that paved road? On House Ridge is Hobart Ward's brigade is Hobart Ward's brigade of David Birney's division. You could only see 4 Union cannon from here. And that is the 4 Union cannon of the 4th New York Battery, which is going to be in the area, as you can see the road where it does that S, is where they are. In front of that is the triangular field. So that's all the people we have here. Now what Meade is going to do, when he learns the horrible truth that he hasn't checked very much, and all these unheard rumors of it, he'd have to be an idiot if he didn't know that Sickles had advanced. But he pretends like he doesn't. Orders Sickles to withdraw his command, and Meade's first thing to do is turn to his chief engineer, and I'm not going to make Marshal Krolik his chief engineer. We don't want Marshall to be a hero, and he's not a Jewish fellow. It's Gouverneur K. Warren. And he's going to tell Gouverneur K. Warren to leave the area of the area near the widow Leicester's house and take his young engineers and get his keister as fast as he can down to find out who is on Little Round Top. You can see Warren's statue on that rock there. You get down here, and Warren is going to come down here with his brother-in-law, not his brother-in-law at that time, the future builder of the Brooklyn Bridge. He's going to come down here with Randall Mackenzie and other young engineers, and they're going to find out they are no Union soldiers except the Signal Corps people on Little Round Top. Meade himself is going to hasten off and contact either personally or by a senior officer with General George Sykes, who has succeeded him as command of the 5th Corps. Now, since when George was at West Point, since he was late all the time, his nom de guerre was Tardy George. This is going to be a good day for George, because he ain't going to be tardy. His orders, his men are posted in and around where where Powers Hill is and Rock Creek. He's going to tell Tardy George, get your people over there as fast as you can. And Tardy George will start his men off moving there. Tardy George has, in his division, has 3 divisions. And he's going to have, his first division he's going to start off is going to be a man that's the only good thing I can say about him, he graduated in the same class as General Lee did from West Point, General Barnes. He will never, after this battlefield, command troops in the field again. So you can gather he's not going to be very good. But he has one hell of a good brigade commander. And I hate to say it for Marshal Krolik's benefit, he's a lawyer. Strong Vincent, a Harvard man, who is as bad a martinet as the worst of the West Pointers. And he'll be moving off with that. But by that time, the Confederates are advancing. We're going to get General Hood over here, or you can be General Longstreet, or it can be Evander Law, and he's going to come over here and tell you what the Confederates are doing, because they're going forward now, and there ain't no Confederates of any substantial strength up on Little Round Top at this moment.
Okay. Hood's going to come in line here. Alabamians are going to be right along here. You can see by the monument up here. On the other side of them, as we first turned off of Emmitsburg Road and overlapped a little bit, that's the Texas Brigade. 1st, 4th, 5th, and 3rd, and then 3rd Arkansas. The Alabamians, you see in map 10, you can see them 4th, 47th, 48th, 15th, and 47th. Okay, Law's Brigade, as I said, marched here from New Guilford, 24 miles. This is a long day for them. It's going to get a lot longer. They're going to come up. But meanwhile, as they're forming, and Hood is going to stay near his old Texans. And he had sent out scouts by the comments, by the written material. They obviously had to have been mounted. They went around Big Round Top, found no Yankees, came back, and they had to precede the Hood's division into place. It's the only way it makes sense. Hood sends a message, staff officer to Longstreet, who's probably up around the Millerstown Road in that area there, and he said, we can go around that big mountain. And so Longstreet sends one of his staff officers down and said, no, General Hood, we are going to attack. As soon as your men are in position, you're going to begin the attack. Hood replies that no, there's nobody up there. So Longstreet sends down John Fairfax. He talks to Hood. Fairfax comes back, and this is not what Longstreet wanted to hear. Fairfax says, I don't think that's a bad idea. Well, so finally what ends it all, and we believe, and Harry Fonts does too in his book, In the Second Day, is the most detailed account of this action in the second day. Evidently, Lee had ridden down Seminary Ridge to some point. And he must have said something, they were taught. But anyways, finally, Longstreet sends back and says, General Lee has ordered this attack, and we are going forward with this attack now. So they'll step out, Alabamians first, and then the Texas Brigade. If you look at map 10, it doesn't really show you, but almost immediately, the Alabama brigades are going to shift in line, and the 15th and 47th are going to head towards Big Round Top. The 48th, the 4th, and 44th are going to head towards Devil's Den and the Slaughter Pen area. What happens then, they're going to be combined with the 4th and 5th Texas. Critical to this attack, and I pointed out in my bus, and probably I did, the Bushman farmers behind us. They believe in that orchard on the south side of the barn is where Hood, within 20 minutes of the onset of the attack, is seriously wounded. John, I just told you yesterday, Hood is as good as any division commander in this army. And his attack starts to come apart a little bit. It'll take 30 minutes for them to find Evander Law, who's a senior brigade commander, for him to take over the direction of the attack. But in all honesty, Law is going to have very little control over the assault that goes forward. It's basically going to begin, it's going to be individual brigades working against it. Almost immediately as they step out from the Wheatfield Road and from the battery up in Devil's Den, they are going to be hit by cannon fire. One of the soldiers said that when the shrapnel would come down and hit men, the sound was like the breaking of glass, crushing the bones and stuff. And it was a fierce artillery fire. Alexander's battery is going to be battalion's going to be along the ridge there. They're going to counter battery fire. But folks, before, as Ed said, with all these trees here, you didn't really understand the perspective in the sense of how they were being pounded by artillery fire. But they're getting pounded almost immediately as soon as they step out, and they're going to be hit by. And so that's why the big target is that battery there above Devil's Den in front of them, and then along the Wheatfield Road where the other guns of the 3rd Corps are. So that's what's hitting them. But this attack, as you see, they just simply start to overlap, regiments overlap. They're supposed to stay connected. Benning's going to veer towards the wheat field, and then this is what happens. But nevertheless, they're coming and they're going to pack a heck of a punch when they get there. But it's not this well-ordered lines in that the terrain contributes to it, the artillery fire contributes to it, and lack of overall direction is going to contribute to the way it goes.
One other thing to add up, and that's what Jeff was pointing out. The Alabamans, when they line up, are going to have the 4th Alabama on the extreme left in contact with Jerome Robertson's brigade. On the 4th Alabama's right is going to be the 47th Alabama, which is a weak brigade numerically. My favorite one is Major Bolger. He's 55 years old. They have a young, good-looking, muscular man, Colonel Jackson, commanding him, somewhat like Marshal Crowley, and he is going to report himself ill, so Bolger will have to take him over. The Center Brigade Regiment is the 15th Alabama, just about where the Alabama marker is. And on their right are the 44th and 48th Alabama. So you can see Hood is going to be eliminated very early in the attack. Now the Union have the 2nd U.S. sharpshooters out here. They're not contaminated by Hiram Berdan. And they're going to be in that area between us and the Slider Farm. And what's going to happen, remember, I said in the center are the 15th Alabama and the 47th Alabama. And they're going to follow the sharpshooters up over Big Round Top. So they, who were originally the guide or the center, are going over Big Round Top, pursuing the sharpshooters. We know that Oates gets up there, but he's going to speculate, but they don't have helicopters in those days, and he's up on Little Round Top, on Big Round Top, and in 10 minutes he could have won the battle. But he doesn't have helicopters, and there's no way he could have got cannons up on Big Round Top. So that means that they are fragmented and separated from themselves. They've separated themselves from the 44th and the 15th and 44th and 48th Alabama, which are going to advance up Plum Run. You can trace the course of Plum Run. It's against the wood line beyond the Slider House. It is on this side of the road going up House Hill. Now, where is the 4th Alabama? Will go forward with 2 of the Texas regiments, the 3rd and the 5th, the 4th and the 5th Texas, and they're going to go up on Little Round Top. So what the 2 brigades of attack are going to be fragmented when they attack. If they'd gone all up there together, Nancy could not have swooned over Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, as they'd have kicked his ass off there.
He's in love with a Confederate anyway.
But the tree cover, now you can understand where everything is. You can see Warren's statue. You can see that obelisk where Stephen Weed is going to die. The obelisk up there. So we'll get back aboard the bus, and we'll at least get halfway through.